Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video we're going to be doing an overview of the MTH HO Scale GS4 steam locomotive and 17 passenger cars from MTH, also in the Southern Pacific scheme. Now there's a specific reason I'm doing an overview versus a review, and that's because this product has been released for a while, plus some time constraints. So basically this product's been out for a while. You may have remembered seeing one of my previous videos where I showed all 17 passenger cars with my cousins, but I just now got around to getting all 17 passenger cars for myself. Plus MTH has recently released 16 passenger car set instead of the 17 set in a set of 5, a set of 3, and then 4 sets of 2. So what you have is 16 available from MTH now, or if you can go chase down the old 8 car set plus the 1 additional coach and the 4 2-car sets, you'll have 17 cars. I've got all 17 cars, plus I've got 2 cars on here from Broadway Limited. So this is a 19-car consist, and we'll also touch on Broadway Limited and how they're different from MTH and which one fares better. So with that said, let's get started the review on the steam locomotive, or I should say overview of the steam locomotive and the passenger cars. So what you have here is the MTH GS4. We did a review on this a long time ago. I'll just go over a couple main features, and that's about it on this locomotive. First of all, it has a die-cast body versus a plastic body. What does that mean? It's heavier, it has better pulling ability, especially with the traction tires on the back set of the wheels here. Now this locomotive has DC, DCC, and DCS. You get some additional DCS features like quillable whistle and all of the functions available with DCS. You can get a DCS commander like I have in order to access those few functions, but pretty much DCC, especially if you have a 28 function controller, will cover most of the functions on this locomotive minus the quillable whistle. Now the detail is great on this locomotive. They've got lit marker lights, it's got puffing synchronized smoke, it's got both the Mars light and the headlight working, and everything is beautiful on this. One thing I did do to modify this locomotive was paint the wheels black to match the current version of 4449, but this is the number 70 locomotive, so it has number 70 on the number boards up front. That's for the Coast Daylight. I can't remember which train it was, but it was train number 70 back in the day. A lot of these cars are no longer in operation, but I decided to get them because of some pressure from my cousin, some peer pressure. He's been trying to get me to get these cars for a long time. Plus some of them do run and the daylight drags some of them along, but most of them aren't corrugated. So that's about it from the locomotive. Let's fire it up. You can hear some sounds, and then I will go ahead and move to the cars while we're taping here. F3 fires it up. F1 is bell, F2 is horn as usual. You hear the horn there. And there's the bell turning off. One thing I do want to show you real quick is the puffing smoke. I'll go ahead and move it at 1 of 28 speed steps. You can see it puffs, and that's a good background for you to see that. So with each chuff it moves. It does have a smooth drive, it's just not showing right now because I've got it on 28 speed steps versus 128 speed steps. There's the bell again. But good features about this locomotive are that it moves smoothly, it pulls a lot of weight, as you can see 19 passenger cars by itself, and obviously it sounds and looks great too, and that die-cast body really helps. Alright, let's move on to passenger equipment. Okay, let's take a look at some passenger cars. What you have here, right in front of you, is 2 car sets of the MTH Daylight Southern Pacific Lines passenger sets. Now, there are 4 2-car sets, like I said, and then you've got an 8-car set, or 5 cars and 3 cars if you get the newer ones. And then you've got one little floater coach out there that's really hard to find. I just found it recently, and that's what prompted me to buy this set, after my cousin gave me some really hard interrogation tactics in order to get me to buy it. Anyhow, here are the cars. Let's talk about some details. One of the things you may notice are window shades. The MTH Southern Pacific Lines cars and Southern Pacific cars have window shades. They also have interior lighting, and it's flicker-free interior lighting with a capacitor inside so that if it loses voltage for a little while, it doesn't flicker. Now, I've still had a couple of flickering problems, but it's been relatively minor. You know, 2 cars out of 17 isn't bad, and a lot of it had to be attributed to dirty track or dirty wheels. Now, you also may see a gap in between the 2 cars here where the diaphragm is. The gap is because you've got a couple different settings that MTH allows you to have. One is like a larger radius setting. I think it's 48 inches or so. If you're around that size on your curves, which I'm nowhere near that, you can have it closer coupled. All you got to do is move it. Now you have no gap. Now on the other cars where the couplers are, you actually have to take off the coupler and move it back into the car to the next setting in order to get those to close couple. But these 2 car sets are easily done just by moving the little metal peg that I'll show you in a second further apart from the truck. Let's talk about some detail. MTH's print is clear and legible, but one thing that BLI edges MTH a little bit out in is the print out here on the cars, especially the numbers. That's about the only advantage I see with Broadway Limited's passenger cars over MTH's. Everything else, I think MTH beats the pants off of Broadway Limited on the cars. I mean, it's not too much of a difference, but one thing that's a major difference is MTH's cars roll a lot freer. That's why you see the GS4 steam locomotive pulling all these cars by itself, is because a lot of these cars, they roll really freely and they're lightweight. MTH did that intentionally so you can pull more, because I know I have trouble with Walther's cars and some other brands pulling by my steam locomotive by itself. I usually have to put a diesel in there to get them to pull correctly. So it's nice to be able to pull a large 19 car set with just a GS4 steam locomotive. 17 cars if you take out the 2 Broadway Limited. So basically that is a major attribute. Let's go ahead and show you some of the detail MTH went into on these cars. They went into quite a bit of detail. As you see the underbody here, there's a lot of detail to show on the underbody. As you can see, they did a great job. Those little QC stickers can be removed, but this set is new for me, so I haven't really done that yet. But look at all the detail. And I've also noticed the QC stickers aren't on every car. On top of that, I will show you these cars in the dark, because you may not be able to tell by video, but the lights are still on even though I picked it up off the track. There's that metal pin. Those rest on all the 2 car sets. On the middle truck, trucks are nicely detailed. Just a great job by MTH. You've got the ladders here. I'll show you the ladders to get into the car. Grab irons, they're all applied and nicely done, and they're durable but not too thick. Broadway Limiteds are actually a bit thicker than MTH's from what I can tell. One problem I did have, because like I said, I don't really hide anything from you guys when I'm reviewing products, is that I had some coupler height problems. MTH's couplers are very not very thick, they're not very tall, so I replaced a lot of couplers with shelf couplers. I have no problem doing little tweaks like this in order to get a passenger set running without, derailing or uncoupling. So I replaced, I don't know, about 12 or 14 coupler sets with KD number 118, I think it was, shelf couplers. So overall, not a bad upgrade. It makes it more prototypical anyway, and then I don't have any derails with these passenger cars or uncouplings. And I didn't have any derails before I changed the couplers either. So really, these cars have been trouble-free. There were a couple of issues that I attribute to the hobby shop. I will not mention which hobby shop I got the 8-car set from, but there were some problems with the 8-car set. But looking at it objectively, there were problems with the hobby shop misleading me versus a problem with MTH's production. So I'm not even going to mention which hobby shop I got it at. I will mention the hobby shop I got the other cars at, because I got all the other ones through Train World online. And Train World, I've been with them for a long time. I think one of the first things I ordered from Train World was some auto racks just a couple months after I got into the hobby. So they've always been there for me, and they've had good business practices. They've shipped no problem. Their prices are fair. You know, all around good job by Train World. But the 8-car set from a different hobby shop I had issues with. So now I'm rolling past some cars here. You see the sunshades in the cars. Some of them are blue, some of them are white. A lot of interior detail on these cars. Here is a 3-car set. Now, like I said, you can buy it with the 8-car set or 5 cars in this 3-car set that's rolling by right now. And that includes a diner in the middle and I think some diner cars. So I'm not really up on this older stuff. That's another reason why I'm not doing a full review on it. This car really shows how well lit these cars are. They are really well lit, and I really like it. And there's no shine through anywhere, which means the factory did a nice job of making sure any areas were covered up. The rear car has a lighted drum head and rear marker light. I'll show you that real quick before we do a run by and wrap this review up. Here's where video tends to get a little bit grainy, but I did want to show you some of these cars lit in the dark. So I'm showing those to you now. Here's one of the coaches. And as this thing gets moving here, I'm going to roll by some other coaches and we'll take a quick look at the observation car with the lighted marker head, the lighted drum head and rear marker lights. This set looks amazing in the dark. Just a great job by MTH on that. As you can see in the very left part of your screen, there is the drum head lit marker lights on the observation car, but let's take a closer look. There is the MTH observation car. It comes with the 8-car set or the 5-car set on the newer releases. What you have here is a lighted rear lighted marker lights on both sides of this car. You can't see the other side. A nice lit drum head that actually in the video is coming washed out a little more than it should, but there's really no backlight outside of the area of the marker or the drum head. So they did a really good job. You've got rear marker light that blinks here and obviously lit interior on all of these cars. So real good job by MTH. Like I said, the only thing Broadway Limited edges MTH out in my opinion is that they have a little clearer print on their cab numbers or their car numbers. That's about it. Now one thing I will mention is that this daylight has struggled a little bit to pull this 19-car consist only because I got a little too frisky with the GS4 and decided to put lube on all of the points that they suggest putting lube on. The problem is I went an overboard, did a little bit of an overboard job on the lube, and what it did is it ran down the wheels and got on those traction tires. So now I've got the daylight attempting to spin out on parts of the locomotive, but on parts of the layout, but surprisingly still doesn't spin out too bad. Alright guys, I'm going to leave you with a daytime run by of the GS4 and all 19 cars. I will put a little notation showing which ones are the BLI cars that are mixed in with the consist and on that run by so you can see the differences if you want. They're just a little darker in color, a little clearer in print. Other than that, they're a little heavier, but overall I think MTH is the correct decision for me to go with on my daylight cars. Thanks for watching guys, and we'll see you next time right here on my channel. Take care.